Hey bookworms, today we will be reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I hope you enjoy. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Now let's get into it. First of all, let me get something straight. This is a journal, not a diary. I know what it says on the cover, but when Mum went out to buy this thing, I specifically told her to get one that didn't say diary on it. Great. All I need is for some jerk to catch me carrying this book around and get the wrong idea. The other thing I want to clear up right away is that this was Mum's idea, not mine. But if she thinks I'm going to write down my feelings in here or whatever, she's crazy. So don't expect me to be all, dear diary this and dear diary that. The only reason I agreed to do this is because I figured later on when I'm rich and famous, I'll have better things to do than answer people's stupid questions all day long. So this book is going to come in handy. Gregory, tell us about your childhood. Were you always so smart and handsome? Here's my diary. Now, Sue. Look, like I said, one day I'll be famous one day. But for now, I'm stuck in middle school with a bunch of morons. Like that guy and that guy. Oh my gosh. Let me just say for the record that I think middle school is the dumbest idea ever invented. You got kids like me who haven't hit their growth spurt yet, mixed with these gorillas you have to shave twice a day. And then they wonder why bullying is such a big problem in middle school. If it was up to me, grade levels would be based on height, not age. But then again, I guess that would mean kids like Chirag Gupta would still be stuck in the first grade. Today is the first day of school, and right now we're just waiting around for the teacher to hurry up and finish the seating charts. So I figured I might as well write in this book to pass the time. By the way, let me give you some good advice. On the first day of school, you've got to be real careful where you sit. You just walk into the classroom and just plunk your stuff on any old desk. The next thing you know, your teacher is saying, I hope you all like where you're sitting because these are your permanent seats. So in this class, I got stuck with Chris Hosey in front of me and Lionel James in back of me. Jason Brill came in late and almost sat to my right, but luckily I stopped that from happening at the last second. Is this seat taken? Yes! Next period should just sit in the middle of a bunch of hot girls as soon as they step in the room. But I guess if I did that, it just proves that I didn't learn anything from last year. Greg, will you please pass this note to Sally? Why, certainly. Greg, and the note says, Greg is a dork. Man, I don't know what is up with girls these days. It used to be a whole lot simpler back in elementary school. The deal was, if you were the fastest runner in your class, you got all the girls in the 5th grade. The fastest runner was Ronnie McCoy. Nowadays, it's a whole lot more complicated. Now it's about what you wear or how rich you are. Or if you have a cute butt or whatever. And kids like Ronnie McCoy are scratching their heads and wondering what the heck happened. The most popular boy in my grade is Bryce Anderson. The thing that really stinks is that I always have been into girls, but kids like Bryce have only come around in the last couple of years. I remember how Bryce used to act back in elementary school. Girls are stinky boos. Yeah. I don't think girls are stinky boos. But now, of course, I don't get any credit for sticking with the girls all this time. Like I said, Bryce is the most popular kid in our grade. So that leaves all the rest of our guys scrambling for other spots. The best I can figure out is that I'm somewhere around the 52nd or 53rd most popular this year. But the good news is I'm about to move up one spot because Charles Davies is above me and he's getting his braces next week. I tried to explain all this popularity stuff to my friend Rowley, who is probably hovering around the 150 mark, by the way. But I think it just goes in one ear and out the other with him. Today we had phys ed, PE, I'm just gonna call it. So the first thing I did when we got outside was sneak off to the basketball court to see if the cheese was still there. And sure enough, it was. That piece of cheese had been sitting on the blacktop since last spring. I guess it must have dropped out somebody's sandwich or something. After a couple of days, the cheese started getting moldy and nasty. Nobody would play basketball on the court the cheese was on, even though that was the only court that had a hoop with a net. Then one day, this kid named Darren Rouse touched the cheese with his finger. And that's what started this thing called the cheese touch. It's basically like the cookies. If you get the cheese touch, you're stuck with it until you pass it on to someone else. The only way to protect yourself from the cheese touch is to cross your fingers. It's not that easy to remember keep your fingers crossed every moment of the day. I ended up taping mine together so they stay crossed all the time. I got a D in handwriting, but it was totally worth it. There's this one kid called Abe Hall who got the cheese touch in April. Nobody will come near him for the rest of the year. This summer, Abe moved away to California and took the cheese touch with him. Sorry. I just hope someone doesn't start the cheese touch up again because I don't need that kind of stress in my life anymore. I'm having a seriously hard time getting used to the fact that summer is over and I have to get out of bed every morning to go to school. But summer did not exactly get off to a great start thanks to my older brother Roderick. A couple of days into summer vacation, Roderick woke me up in the middle of the night. He told me I slept through the whole summer, but that luckily I woke up just in time for the last day of school. You might think that I was pretty dumb for falling for that one, but Roderick was dressed up in his school clothes and he set my alarm clock ahead to make it look like it was the morning. Plus, he closed my curtains so that I couldn't see. It was dark outside. After Roderick woke me up, I just got dressed and went downstairs to make myself some breakfast like I do every morning on a school day. But I guess that I must have made a pretty big racket because the next thing I know, Dad was downstairs yelling at me for eating Cheerios at 3 o'clock in the morning. It took me a minute to figure out what happened, what was going on. After I did, I told Dad that Roderick had played a trick on me and he was the one that should be getting yelled at. Dad walked down to the basement to chill Roderick out and I tagged along. I couldn't wait to see Roderick get what was happening to him. But Roderick covered up his tracks pretty good, and to this day, I'm sure Dad thinks I've got a loose screw loose or something. Today we got assigned to reading groups. They don't come up and tell you if you're in the gifted group or the easy group, but you can figure it out right away by the books they hand out. Einstein as a child. Pink says boo. Boo. I was pretty disappointed to find that I got put in the gifted group because that just means a lot of extra work. When they did screening at the end of last year, I did my best to make sure I got put in the easy group this year. Fred picked up the book. Woof, thanks. Mom is real tight with our principal. So I'll bet she stepped in and made sure I got put in the gifted group again. Mom's always saying I'm a smart kid, but that I just don't apply it myself. But if there's one thing I learned from Roderick, it's to set people's expectations real low so that you end up surprising them by practically doing nothing at all. Roderick, I want your dirty underwear off the kitchen table before I get home from work. Later that day. Actually, I'm kind of glad my plan to get put in the easy book didn't work. I saw a couple of ink says blue kids holding their books upside down, and I didn't think they would joke me. Well, all this was finally over, so today I slept in. Most kids wake up early on Saturday to watch cartoons or whatever, but not me. The only reason I get out of bed at all on weekends is because eventually I can't stand the taste of my own work anymore. Unfortunately, Dad wakes up at 6 o'clock in the morning to know what day of the week it is. And it's not real considerate that I'm trying to enjoy my Saturday like a normal person. I didn't have anything to do today, so I just headed up to Rowley's house. Rowley's technically my best friend, but it's definitely a subject to change. I've been avoiding Rowley since the first day of school when he did something that really annoyed me. We were getting our stuff from our lockers at the end of the day, and Rowley came out to me and said, "Want to come over to my house and play?" I told Rowley at least 1 billion times that now we're in middle school, you're supposed to say hang out, not play. But no matter how many noggies I give him, he always forgets the next time. I've been trying to be a lot more careful about my image ever since I got to middle school. But having Rowley around is definitely not Rowley a few years ago when he moved into the neighbourhood. His mum bought him this book called How to Make Friends in Muslims. He came to my house with all these dumb gimmicks. Huh? Come on. Excuse me? There must be some way to tickle your funny bone. Say what? I guess I felt kind of sorry for Rowley, and I decided to take him under my wing. It's been great having him around, mostly because I get to use all those tricks Roderick pulls on me. Did you know that if your hand is bigger than your face, it's a sign of low intelligence? Really? Huh, gotcha. But do I have low intelligence? Let me check again. No, I said. I think all sorts of pranks on Rowley. Well, I have a little brother named Money. And I could never get away with that, putting any of that stuff on him. Mum and Dad protect Manny like he's a prince or something. And he never gets in trouble, even if he really deserves it. Yesterday, Manny drew a self-portrait on my bedroom door in a permanent marker. I thought Mum and Dad were really going to let him have it, but as usual, I was wrong. But the thing that bugs me most about Manny is the nickname he has me. When he was a baby, he couldn't pronounce brother, so he's in trouble. And he's still doing it now. Even though I keep trying to get to make me stop. Luckily, none of my friends have found out now yet. But believe me, I've had some pretty close calls. Hey, this one says it's still Bobby. It must be a mistake. Mum makes me look after, makes me help Manny get ready for school in the morning. After I make Manny his breakfast, he carries his cereal bowl into the family room and sits on his plastic potty. See, it's for Cookies, and Cookie is for me. Ha! And when it's time to go to daycare, he gets up and dumps whatever he didn't eat right in the toilet. Mum is always getting at me about not finishing my breakfast. But if she had to scrape cornflakes out of the bottom of a plastic potty every morning, she wouldn't have much of an appetite either. It's Tuesday. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I'm super good at video games. I'll bet I can beat anyone in my grade head to head. Unfortunately, Dad does not exactly appreciate my skills. He's always getting on me about going out and doing something active. So tonight, after dinner, when Dad started hassling me about going outside, I tried to explain how with video games you can play sports like football and soccer, and you don't even get hot and sweaty. But as usual, Dad didn't see my logic. Dad is a pretty smart guy in general, but when it comes to common sense, I wonder about him. I'm sure Dad would dismantle my game system if he could figure out how to do it, but luckily, people who make these things make them parent-proof. Daggone these fancy gadgets. Every time Dad kicks me out of the house to do something sporty, I just go up to Rowley's and play my video games there. Unfortunately, the only games I can play at Rowley's are car racing games and stuff like that. Because whenever I bring a game up to Rowley's, his dad looks it up on some kind of parents' website. And if the game has any kind of fighting or violence in it, he won't let us play. I guess I'm pretty sick of playing Formula 1 races with Rowley, because he's not a serious gamer like me. All he has to do to beat Rowley is name your car something ridiculous at the beginning of the game, and when you pass Rowley's car, he just falls to pieces. Bad fart ahead. Anyway, today after I got done mopping the floor with Rowley today, I headed home. I ran through the neighbour's sprinkler a couple of times to make it look like I was all sweaty, and that seemed to do the trick for Dad. Woo! But my trick kind of backfired, because as soon as Mum saw me, she made me go upstairs to take a shower. I guess Dad must have been pretty happy with himself for making me go outside, because he did it again today. It's getting really annoying having to go up to Rowley every time I want to play a video game. There's this weird kid named Franklin who lives halfway between my house and Rowley's, and Franklin is always hanging out in his front yard, so it's pretty hard to avoid him. Want to see my secret freckle? No thanks. Franklin is in my PE class at school, and he made up his whole made-up language. Like when he needs to go to the toilet, he says, "Deuce, deuce." Us kids have pretty much figured out by now. But I don't think the teachers have caught on yet. Okay, kid. Gee whiz. I I probably would have gone up to Rowley's on my own anyway because my brother Roderick and his band are down in the basement. Roderick's band is really awful and they can't stand being at home when they're having rehearsals. His band is called Loaded Diaper, only it's spelled L-O-D-E-D space D-I-P-R on Roderick's van. So it spells Loaded Dipper. But you might think he might have spelled it that way to make it look cooler. But I bet if you told Roderick how Loaded Diaper is really spelt, it'll be news to him. Dad was against the idea for Roderick starting a band, but Mum was all for it. She's the one who bought Roderick his first drum set. I think Mum has this idea that we're all going to learn to play instruments and then become one of those family bands like you see on TV. Dad really hates heavy metal. And that's the kind of music Roderick and his band play. I don't think Mum really cares what Roderick plays or listens to, because to her, music is all the same. In fact, earlier today, Roderick was listening to one of his CDs in the family room. Mum came in and started dancing. That really bugged Roderick, so he drove off to the store and came back 15 minutes later with some headphones. And that pretty much took care of the problem. Yesterday, Roderick got a new heavy metal CD and it had one of those parental warning stickers on it. I've never gotten to listen to one of those parental warning CDs because Mum and Dad never let me buy them at the mall. So I realised the only way I was going to get a chance to listen to Roderick's CD was if I snuck it out of the house. This morning, after Roderick left, I called Rowley and told him to bring his CD player to school. Then I went down to Roderick's room and took his CD off the rack. We're not allowed to bring in personal music players to school, so we had to wait until after lunch when the teachers let us outside. As soon as we got the chance, me and Rowley snuck around the back of the school and loaded up Roderick's CD. But Rowley forgot to put batteries in his CD player, so it was pretty much worthless. Then I came up with a great idea for a game. The object was to put the headphones on your head, then try to shake them off without using your hands. The winner was whoever could shake the headphones off in the shortest amount of time. I had the record with 7.5 seconds, but I think I might have shook some of my fillings loose with that one. Right in the middle of a game, Mrs. Quay came around the corner and caught us red-handed. She took the music player away from me and started tuning us out. But I think she had the wrong idea about what we were doing today. She started telling us how rock and roll is evil and was going to ruin our game. I was going to tell her that there weren't even any batteries in the CD player, but I could tell she didn't want to be interrupted. So I just waited until she was done and then said, "Yes, Mum." But right then, when Miss Craig was about to let us go, Molly started blubbering how he doesn't want rock and roll to ruin his brains. Honestly, sometimes I don't know about that boy. Well, now I've gone and done it. Last night, after everyone was in bed, I snuck downstairs to listen to Roderick's CD on the stereo in the family room. I put it Audrey's new headphones on, quite volume really high. Then I hit play. First, let me just say that I can understand why they put the parental warning sticker on CD. But I only want to hear about 30 seconds of this first song before I got interrupted. Turns out that I didn't have the headphones plugged into the stereo, so the music was actually coming through the speakers, not the headphones. Dad marched me up to the room and shut the door behind him. Then he said, "Let's have a talk. Let's you and me have a talk, friend." Whenever Dad says friend that way, you know you're in trouble. The first time Dad said that to me, I didn't get that he was being sarcastic. So whenever I got down, friend equals good. I don't make that mistake anymore. Tonight, Dad yelled at me for about 10 minutes. And then I guess he decided to rather be in bed than standing in my room in his underwear. He told me I was grounded from playing video games for 2 weeks, which is about what I expected. I guess I should be glad that that's all he did. The good thing about Dad that when he gets mad, he cools off real quick, and then it's over. Usually when you mess up in front of Dad, he just throws whatever he's got in his hands at you. Good time to screw up. And Dad is feeding me. Bad time to screw up. Okay. Mama has a totally different style when it comes to punishment. If you mess up and Mom catches you, the first thing she does is take a few days to figure out what your punishment should be. While you're waiting, you do all these nice things to try and get off easier. I just dusted the dining room. How thoughtful of you. Then after a few days, right when you forget you're in trouble, that's when she lays it on you. They're having fun. Yeah? No video games for a week. This video game ban is a lot tougher than I thought it would be, but at least I'm not the only one in the family who's in trouble. Roderick got in some water with Mom right now. Manny got a hold of one of Roderick's heavy metal magazines, and one of the pages has a woman in a bikini lying across the hood of a car. And then Manny brought it into school for show and tell. Anyway, I don't think Mom was too happy about getting that phone call. I saw the magazine myself, and honestly, it wasn't anything to get worked up over. But Mom doesn't allow anything like that in the house. Roderick's punishment was that he had to answer a bunch of questions Mom wrote out to him. Did owning this magazine make you a better person? No. Did it make you more popular at school? No. How do you feel about having owned this type of magazine now? I feel ashamed. Do you have anything you want to say to woman for having owned this magazine? I'm sorry, woman. Wednesday. I'm still grounded from playing video games. So Manny has been using my system. Mom went out and bought a whole bunch of educational video games, and watching Manny play them is like torture. What number comes after 2 and marriage is 3? 3! The good news is that I finally figured out how to get video games past Rowley's dad. I just put one of my discs in Manny's Discovering the Alphabet case, and that's all it takes. At school today, they announced that student government elections are coming up. To be honest with you, I never had any interest in student government, but then I started thinking about it. I realised getting elected as at treasurer could totally change my situation at school. We cheerleaders are tired of riding to games in the same bus as the nerds in the band. Let me see what I can do. And even better, we adults need an air pump to inflate our only football. Yeah, sorry I can't help you with that. Nobody ever thinks about running for treasurer because all anyone ever cares about are the big ticket positions like president and vice president. So I figured that if I sign up tomorrow, the treasurer job is pretty much mine for the taking. I told Dad I was running for student government and he seemed pretty excited. Turns out he ran for student government when he was my age and actually won. Dad dug through some of his old boxes in the basement and found one of his campaign posters. I thought that the poster idea was pretty good. I asked Dad if he could drive me to the store to get some supplies. And I spent the rest of the night making all my campaign stuff, so let's just hope these posters work. I brought my posters into school today, and I have to say, they came out really good. Do you want Marty Potter to be your treasurer? Hey, you're dropping all my money, fool! Remember in second grade how Marty Potter had headlights? Do you really want him touching your money? I started hanging up my posters, but as soon as I got in, I was only about 3 minutes before Vice Principal Roy spotted them. Roy said you weren't allowed to write fabrications about the other candidates. So I told Mr. Roy that the thing about the headlights was true and it practically closed down the whole school when it happened. But he took down